All right, so Eagles-Cowboys Sunday has taken on a lot of subplots, but still number one is Saquon Barkley chasing Eric Dickerson's rushing record. Everybody wants him to break it except for Eric Dickerson, who said, I don't think he'll break it, talking to the LA Times. But if he breaks it, he breaks it. Do I want him to break it? Absolutely not. I don't pull no punches on that, but I'm not whining about it. Hey, football is football. That's the way I look at it. If he's fortunate to get over 2,000 yards and get the record, it's a great record to have. Now, developing here, the last couple days quietly, Jalen Hurts still in concussion protocol.
Yeah.
So it looks like it's a Kenny Pickett game.
He wasn't bad. He really was. Kenny Pickett as a backup with really good players around him, you can win games.
Well, getting tossed into a road game like the Washington one was tough, but with ample time to prepare, for a Cowboys defense that I don't think is great. Pickett could be okay and serviceable. Nick Sirianni said that Hurts still has not cleared concussion protocol. Colin, if he's not out of it, there's no point in putting him out there. Now, CD Lamb, it sounds like he's shut down as well for the Cowboys. So you're missing some stars. I think Saquon, he needs 268 yards to break the rushing record. Probably not doing it against the Cowboys, right? But it is indoors.
Yeah, I don't see it happening. I think this is a stay-away game. There's too many unknowns. For me, as somebody that likes betting the NFL, it's a stay-away game.
This week I don't love this.
I don't love that game.
Now, the other angle is, listen, anything happens to Saquon, you just forget about the playoffs. So I don't even know that I'd be rushing him a lot, right? The number one seed seems out of reach after the Washington loss.
Yeah, it does.
So I'd limit Saquon's carries.
Yeah, I'm the same way.
Kenneth Gainwell action, all that fun stuff. Next.
Yeah. This is like the worst feeling, probably one of the worst fears for, I shouldn't say fears, one of the worst anxieties of Philadelphia Eagles fans and Saquon Barkley, because it's like on one side, you want to see him break it. Also, I'm kind of confused because I thought Eric Dickerson, weeks ago before, was cheering on Derrick Henry and Saquon to break his record. Now he's saying I don't want them to break it. So I'm a little confused by that. Also, I'm also confused by this question because they're saying don't think the whole break it. Are they saying just specifically against the Cowboys or these next two games? This is a weird one because if the Eagles are solidified with their positioning, their seeding and whatnot, then you're not really going to want to have Saquon get a lot of carries. Especially, I'm not sure, especially if they're locked in, under any other circumstance, he wouldn't even play against the Giants. But then also kind of the poetic symmetry of him potentially breaking the record against New York. It's you want to see it, but then you also don't want him to get banged up, of course. And you also do want him to rest. Rest, of course, matters. Even just a week really, really adds a lot. So it's one of the best case scenarios. And again, now you're just kind of reaching when you're well, maybe he can break off another 70-yard run in the first quarter of the Cowboys or something, and then you're trying to figure out a way how he can break the record or have break the record against the Giants, but he only has to play for the first quarter and a couple drives and he's going to break it and then he'll be able to, get out of the game totally okay. It's one of those weird situations. But I'm confident that 99.9% of Eagles fans are going to be no, it's not about the record. It's about winning the Super Bowl. Keep him healthy. Let's go. So, because even something as little as getting a concussion, as we see with Jalen Hurts, you're potentially not in it. Also, I don't know what J-Mac was talking about, because if he hasn't cleared concussion protocol, I don't know if it's worth it to put him out there. And I'm not sure if he meant Jalen Hurts, because if you meant Jalen Hurts, you can't just put him out there. That's not how it works. I'm a little confused by that. Yeah, this is, the Eagles are in a weird situation to a degree because of course, Jalen Hurts getting banged up and taking that loss. When you're looking around the league and you're seeing some of these other teams, and granted some of these games that they were able to play earlier this week, so it's already their final two games that they've already played that one game. You can see these teams gaining momentum, getting some wins under their belt, feeling that good energy, connecting all the dots, really cleaning things up and just playing high quality football. Most notably, the Baltimore Ravens, probably the best example of that right now. And you want to be able to continue with that. And since the Eagles unfortunately lost to the Commanders and losing Jalen Hurts, and even just the way how they lost, dropping some passes and whatnot, having their defense, both on one side played great, forcing turnovers. On the other side, giving up obviously a lot of yards and points. It's one of those things when you're just kind of like, all right, we want to get back on track. We want to feel like we are playing at our highest level going into the playoffs. Not, hey guys, we need to be better in the playoffs. It's just kind of a different kind of reference point. And so that's what these games are for. And even the Giants game, and again, it's a tough one. If you're really locked and loaded in the seating by that, for that game, it's like, I don't know, do any starters play? Do some of the young guys still play? Like, I don't know really what you do in that game and how it's 100% managed. I will not pretend to be an expert on trying to manage who starts and who doesn't and how you kind of divvy up the playing time going into the playoffs. That's just honestly not my expertise and by any stretch of the imagination. So it's a slightly weird situation to be in. That's why in a lot of ways, beating the Cowboys and rolling the Cowboys, just getting that win that the Ravens got, whether versus the Texans or the Giants, getting that win, feeling that and being like, this is who we are. We shut them down, even though it is the Cowboys team and clearly an inferior team with also a backup quarterback, still kind of will connect a lot of these things together. And then you kind of ride into against the Giants, don't really got to play, use it as a pseudo bye, and then you're kind of boom, now you're in the playoffs. Everyone's good, everyone's feeling good, everyone should be healthy, well rested. Home game would most likely be all against the Commanders, and it's like, let's go, let's show this team who we are when we actually have Jalen Hurts. Okay, like that's real great. You guys won. That's so awesome. But guess what? We beat ourselves. We literally dropped the ball, okay? And our quarterback was literally concussed. So better luck next year. And it's like, that's kind of the mindset that the Eagles want. But if you get into this weird situation where Cooper Rush throws for 350 yards and 3 touchdowns, and you're like, oh my God, what's going on? Saquon's trying to go for the record, but he can't really run right now because the offense is just not the same with Jalen Hurts, and now he's taking a lot of extra hits behind the line of scrimmage, and now you're kind of a little bit banged up, and it's just like, Saquon Barkley isn't hurt, but he's like, like kind of walking to the sideline, not exactly what you would want him to look like, and, he's kind of like on the side making that face as he's like massaging his thigh a bit, and you're like, well, I don't like to see that either. And then the commentators are like, oh, well, we can see Saquon on the bench with the heating pad. I doubt he'll be going back in. And you're like, well, I don't want to see that. And it's just like, that's what can happen. I mean, and it can happen very quickly. So these final 2 games really are kind of just like, you want to get in, you want to get out. And you want to be like, all right, get the win, leave. Get a nice lead and not have to fight for it to the very end and sit everyone in the fourth quarter. And that will obviously, all that will hurt Saquon breaking the record. And I think it would have been a great story to have him go to the Eagles, break the record. I think that would be pretty awesome and validating. But I think his success has already been validated. And quite frankly, at the end of the day, I know Eric Dickerson is famous and, very well respected. And especially the true football heads know Eric Dickerson. But I'm pretty confident more people know Emmitt Smith. And even in the modern era of football, like, there's a whole list of other running backs that people think about. And if Saquon Barkley doesn't break Eric Dickerson's record, but wins a Super Bowl with the Philadelphia Eagles, and quite frankly, there's actually now a legitimate chance that he would be the Super Bowl MVP if they did win. Like that, it most likely would be, if the Eagles are able to win, it would probably be a combination between Hurts, Saquon, and like, depending on who has the biggest game, whether it be a Devontae or an AJ, like that would be the conversation. But it would be like a legitimate, opportunity for Saquon to get a Super Bowl MVP. And it's just like, you will live, your legend and your status will be way more deeply rooted than if you get the rushing record but then get knocked out in the first or second round. I'm very confident in that. Yeah, when people mention, when you're watching a random football game 5 years from now and they say, oh, the all-time rushing record, and they'll say Saquon Barkley, and it'll be great. And you'll be able to say it, at your Hall of Fame speech and say, I got this. But I do think we just live and die in this Super Bowl world. And I think at this point, football records also only matter so much. And Colin has highlighted this very well. He talks about how baseball, everyone cares so much about the records, the hits and home runs and whatnot and stuff like that. And he says in football, he's like, does anyone know who has the most touchdowns and how many touchdowns is it? Who's got the most passing yards and how many yards? Like, no one really ever knows, and it's always changing. And I guarantee you, this record, if Saquon breaks it, there's probably a great chance within the next 10 years, maybe even significantly less, that record gets broken. Football is constantly changing. We just saw this huge reemergence of the run game. Wouldn't surprise me if over the next couple of years, teams really double, triple, quadruple down. And, then you are seeing it, not unlike three-point shooting in the NBA. And so it's just like, I question how much a record these days even actually matters. But we know the Super Bowl trophy and even a Super Bowl MVP for that matter, especially with a franchise like Philly, just ask Nick Foles. Like, you truly live forever in immortality. Truly live forever in immortality. Like, there is not a single Philadelphia Eagle who will, a fan or Eagle for that matter, will ever forget Nick Foles. Like, he's literally enshrined at the stadium and will forever be that guy. Forever. And you can make the argument 10 years from now, 15 years from now, 20 years from now, people will more likely reference Nick Foles than Donovan McNabb. And Donovan McNabb was way more popular of a quarterback and played with the Eagles for way more and had technically more and longer sustained success. But that's just life. That's why, like, always trying to, and that's what records do though, because when you're talking about a record, it's the legend of the player. How will people remember me? How will we look back on all of this? And it's like, I don't know. I don't know how much it really matters when we live, I'm going to sound like a boomer, in this fast-paced world, because it is. We're all into the next thing. We're constantly on to the next thing. And I always reference this when talking about that. It's like 1 minute we're talking about Tom Brady. The next minute it's Patrick Mahomes. Nope, now Josh Allen. Nope, now Lamar Jackson. Like, it's constantly the next thing. And better believe if Caleb Williams was balling this season and over the next couple of years, if him and Jaden and CJ and Jordan Love, and they start balling and now they're playing each other and having these big exciting games, people are not going to be as interested in the Mahomes and Allen and the Mahomes and Lamar. We're going to be focused on Jordan Love and CJ Stroud. And CJ Stroud and Bo Nix. Like, it's constantly changing. Constantly changing. So I'm just not so sure chasing records even matters anymore. But I do get why you would want it. I do. But those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think about the Philadelphia Eagles? Do you think Saquon will break the record? Do you think that he should try? Do you think the Eagles should actually just be like, sorry, dude, you're getting like 10 carries this game? Do they manage it? Like, how do you think they should handle it? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment. So whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions. Let's get in some fights. But ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We're building an amazing community here, and I absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to. Something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're on our way to doing it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much, and see you next time.